Shalom, Kahal Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Kakodash, double honor to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us his truth. And shalom and salutation to all the brothers out pushing the word and truth and in sincerity. The hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you as well. We're going to start right here in 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. We'll start at 17. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? All right. The answer is Yahushua. All right. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. All right. Like the Turkish earthquake. And here's the point, the beginning of wars. Here we are. All right. This is the World War III Daily Update. The beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Well, what we should do is we should measure thou the time diligently in and of itself, right? Let's get that real quick. What should we do? 2nd Ezra 9 and 1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we're supposed to be watching right now, okay? Watching, because these are the signs that the one that you ignorantly call Jesus is coming back to do what he's about to do, right? He's about to visit the world which the Most High made. Most High is sending him back to handle that business, all right? Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, we see that, and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to allow Dina here, Dina Amelia Calmetta, right, 2 hours ago, we're going to allow her to give what? The report. World War III Daily Update. Okay, World War III fears with U.S., Russia, China, and North Korea. Israel strikes Damascus. Iran vows revenge. Look at all of that. Okay, and I watched like the first few minutes of this. What was it? Yeah, first couple of minutes. And she's got a list of things that just show you, right, how close we are to them declaring World War III. World War III hasn't been declared yet. They're dancing around it. But very soon it's going to be obvious to everybody. And they go, we are in World War III. We declare war on da-da-da-da. Right? And then things are going to move into a different phase or a different level, right, of war or world war for that matter. Last world war we had was two, right? And wars haven't stopped since World War II. What? They went straight into what? Korea? So, take it away, Dina. Oh, and I'm going to let this intro play because it's, she's not a prophet and she doesn't quite know, what she's talking about. She's close, but there's the 100% truth, and then there's everything else, which is a lie. So, but it's kind of prophetic, this little intro, so I'm going to let it play.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here. And so for today's news, I do have quite a few headlines I'd like to share with you. We're going to talk about Russia and China, as well as the United States, Israel, Iran, Syria, and North Korea. And in fact, is what I've done is I put together a short snapshot of some of the headlines that have occurred in the last 48 to 72 hours. China threatens the U.S. with a counterattack over Taiwan's president's visit. In New York,
Look at all of these headlines. China threatens U.S. This is war. New York, Taiwan leader says U.S. ties with the U.S. closer than ever. That goes into the Chinese, where China open to strengthening military. See, this is all war. Jets scramble. North Korea, you know what that is. Cold War. War. I'm gonna let her deliver.
The leader says that ties with the U.S. are closer than ever. China is open to strengthening the military coordination with Russia. Taiwan scrambles jets and ships after irrational actions by Chinese military. High activity spotted at the North Korean nuclear complex. Russia's detainment of the Wall Street Journal reporter makes it feel like a Cold War. Talk of EU troops in Ukraine is extremely dangerous. Belarus is ready to deploy not just tactical, but also Russian strategic nuclear weapons in the country. Now, this is coming from the president. The Hungarian prime minister has warned of the threat of World War III. U.S. troops should leave Germany. Shadow war heats up as senior Iranian military advisor was killed in an alleged Israeli airstrike in Syria. Iran has vowed revenge. Russia has protested over provocative actions by the U.S. forces in Syria. And the U.S. has extended carrier deployment after the Syrian attack. Israeli Air Force downs unidentified aircraft in north amid escalating tensions with Iran. Satellite images show Syria's strike targets Hezbollah drone capability. Gallant vows to block Iran Hezbollah in Syria after alleged Israeli strikes. Japan buys Russian oil above $60 a barrel cap, breaking with U.S. allies. Russian pro-war military blogger was killed in St. Petersburg cafe bombing. And China stresses opposition to nuclear war after Russia announces plan to send weapons to Belarus. Trump tells Americans to pray after Putin reveals nuclear weapons plan. U.S., South Korea, and Japan start joint sea drills as North Korea makes nuclear threat. North Korea says its nuclear capabilities is not empty talk. Syria says Israel hits Homs outposts. Sources say air bases were bombed.
Wow. That is a lot of headlines that you won't see in the mainstream media. They're going to hide it from you and say Gwyneth Paltrow didn't run into somebody on the Heavenly Valley ski slopes. Okay? So that right there should let you know that very soon nukes are going to be flying. All right? That's all that spells. I'm going to let her continue on. So those are a lot of headlines in the last 2 or 3 days. And of course, for the sake of time, we're not going to go into every single headline. But I wanted to give you guys a snapshot of how quickly these events are occurring in such a short period of time. And so with that said, I would like to take you to this first report from Breitbart. They are reporting that apparently China is open to strengthening their military coordination with Russia. A spokesman for the Chinese Defense Ministry stated on Thursday that China is ready to increase military cooperation with Russia after the dictators met in Moscow 2 weeks ago. The Chinese Defense Ministry said the following: the Chinese military is willing to work together with the Russian military to fully implement the important consensus reached by the two heads of state, further strengthening strategic communication and coordination. The official said that this enhanced cooperation could include more joint exercises and patrols, such as the 5 days of training held in the Gulf of Oman by China, Russia, and Iran during the week of March 15th. He said that the exercises would help the three authoritarian countries to jointly carry out diversified maritime military missions. He also insisted that China's coordination with Russia would be different from the military alliances of the Cold War, because it is based on the principles of non-alliance, non-confrontation, and non-targeting of third parties. He also said that Russia would help to implement China's Global Security Initiative, a hazy piece of Chinese communist propaganda from last summer that portrays Beijing as a selfless guarantor of world peace.
but somehow has managed to overlook the Russian invasion of Ukraine as a threat to global security. It goes on finally to report that Putin insisted on Sunday that Russia and China are not creating any military alliance. He said that yes, we have cooperation in the sphere of military technical interaction, but we are not hiding this. Everything is transparent. There is nothing secret. Now, since we're on the topic of China, apparently 9 Chinese aircraft crossed the Taiwan Strait median line on Friday, carrying out combat readiness patrols, according to Taiwan's defense ministry. Now, this is days after Beijing threatened retaliation if Taiwan's president was to meet with U.S. Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Taiwan's leader arrived in the United States on Wednesday, stopping off on her way to Central America. Taiwan's defense ministry said that the 9 Chinese aircraft crossed at points in the north center and south of the strait's median line, which used to serve as an unofficial buffer between the two sides. Taiwan's armed forces responded using its own aircraft and ships to monitor the situation, using the principle of not escalating conflicts or causing disputes. The Communist military's deployment of forces deliberately created tension in the Taiwan Strait, not only undermining peace and stability, but also has a negative impact on regional security and economic development, according to Taiwan's ministry. The ministry also condemned what it called irrational actions. In the meantime, over in Russia, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has warned that any ideas about a possible deployment of EU forces in Ukraine are potentially very dangerous. He went on to tell journalists that if we are talking about some kind of serious negotiations, then this is potentially extremely a dangerous discussion. In world practice, such forces, as a rule, are used only with the consent of both parties. In this case, it is potentially a very dangerous topic. Now, his statement comes after Orban revealed that EU leaders are close to holding a legitimate discussion on whether or not member states can or should send some kind of peacekeeping force to Ukraine. And the Hungarian leader warned that the Ukrainian conflict is only getting bloodier and more brutal. And
you see that? Look at the osprey. But what is this? EU troops? That's a European Union. This isn't NATO. Okay. Now the EU and NATO make up the beast system. Okay. You got EU, European Union, the 10 toes, which are now more than 10, but you got EU, you got NATO, and you got the whore that rides on top of the beast. All right. And Dina doesn't know how to go into that, but this is what we're dealing with. Going where into Ukraine for what? To fight against the Medes, right? Who are joined with the Persian, the Medo-Persian. You understand? The kings of the north. All right.
Questioned why EU leaders are not focused on trying to achieve peace through diplomatic means rather than the provision of more deadly tools to Kyiv and the fueling of hostilities. He said that if this continues, the danger of a world war is a literary exaggeration. Now, over in Belarus, as I reported last week, the Belarusian president mulled the possibility of his nation hosting Russia's strategic nuclear weapons during his annual address to Parliament on Friday. The leader's words came as Moscow announced its plans to deploy its tactical nuclear weapons to Belarus. And the Belarusian president stated that I and Russian President Putin can decide and deploy strategic nuclear weapons here if need be. We will stop at nothing to protect our nations, our states, and our people. He added that the move would likely serve as an effective deterrent against any hostile moves by the U.S. and its ally.
Can you clearly see where this thing is going? Either side is being directed by the Most High, God, that you call him God. His name is Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All right? He's clearly directing this thing and is not going to turn back. All right? This thing is moving forward all the way to the nuclear missiles.
In the meantime, President Putin declared a new foreign policy strategy, designating the United States as the greatest threat facing Russia and highlighting Moscow's alliance with China. Putin on Friday signed a new guideline aimed at curbing Western dominance and identifying China and India as key partners for the future. Russia's foreign policy, according to the document, should reflect that the U.S. is the source of main risks to Russia's security, international peace, and a balanced, just, and sustainable development of mankind. The Russian Federation intends to give priority to the elimination of vestiges of the dominance of the United States and other unfriendly countries in world politics. The term unfriendly countries has been used by Russia to refer to those countries, particularly in Europe and North America, that have condemned the Russian invasion of Ukraine and adopted sanctions. Now, of course, I would be amiss if I did not mention the Russian detainment of a Wall Street Journal reporter. Britt Hume has stated that the Cold War is on again. On Thursday, the Russian government's Federal Security Service arrested Evan Gerskovich on spying charges, and he is an American-born citizen. The FSB claimed it arrested the journalist while he was trying to obtain secret information on the activities of one of the enterprises of the Russian military-industrial complex. His arrest has sparked global outrage, with Americans on both sides of the political spectrum and news organizations across the world calling for his immediate release. So certainly a very serious situation there. And we will probably see some prisoner swaps in the near future. But here is another report in regards to the US and Germany. A German MP wants US troops expelled. Sabine Dagdalen, the deputy head of the left's party faction, stated that Berlin must break with its relationship of extreme subservience to America and its foreign policies marked by breaches of international law. Germany must demand that U.S. forces withdraw, along with their nuclear weapons. She went on to state that after 78 years, it is now time for the U.S. soldiers to go home. The U.S. military bases, she said, act like extraterrestrial zones, while the German Constitution does not apply. Washington uses its bases in Germany to wage wars abroad and launch legal drone strikes, she said, adding that some of these actions are in breach of international law. She also criticized the regular NATO meetings of America's Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where military aid to Kyiv is discussed. Washington hosts these conferences as if the occupation statute were still in force, she said, adding that Berlin also added the U.S. to put Germany in the line of fire with the German-made Leopard tank deliveries to Ukraine. Finally, she stated that the U.S. administration gives the impression that they do not want allies, just loyal vassals, and fewer countries around the world are prepared to accept this. Now, with that said, over in North Korea, satellite imagery has indicated a high level of activity at North Korea's main nuclear complex after Kim Jong-un ordered the production of weapons-grade nuclear material to be ramped up. This is according to a U.S. think tank. Washington-based 38 North said that images from March 3rd to March 17th suggested that an experimental light water reactor ELWR at the country's Yongbyon site was nearing completion. The images also indicated that a 5-megawatt reactor continued to operate, and new construction had started around the site's uranium enrichment plant, likely to expand its capabilities. The report added that these developments seem to reflect Kim Jong-un's recent directive to increase the fissile material production to expand its nuclear weapons arsenal.
We're going to stop right there. I mean, you can watch the rest of this if you want to. It's 2 hours ago. Dina Amelia Cometa, World War III Fears. Okay. We're just going to get a couple of precepts and go ahead and close for today. And tomorrow we'll see you for Wars and Rumors of War Tuesday, if I don't get distracted. Yeah. If you know the scriptures, you understand that Vlad Putin is very instrumental in taking down Babylon. All right, and not only Vlad, but let's get Jeremiah 50. Okay, we're just watching the end take shape here. All right. What does it say? Jeremiah 50. What does the caption say? The judgment on Babylon. This Babylon here is not ancient Iraq. This is talking about Babylon the Great, right? Which is known as America in the Bible. We'll just read this. Okay. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. This is against America. See, they're not talking about coming up against Ukraine. Russia is not worried about the Ukraine. Russia's not worried about these other countries. They're worried about Babylon, America. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. This I is talking about the one you call God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. He's going to raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. This is your World War III. Okay? And they shall set themselves in array against her. Against who? Babylon. From thence she shall be taken. Here's what's going to happen. It's already written what's going to happen. Their arrows, whose arrows? An assembly of great nations. What arrows? Those nuclear missiles. China, Russia, Iran. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. None what? Their arrows. Okay? And here's what happens to America. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. It's already written. All right? And we're watching it go down. Watch, all you got to do is watch this. I mean, it's being spelled out. Not on the mainstream media. You got to come to somebody like Dina, who's got headline and headline and headline that's being hidden from, the layman, if you will, or whatever. So with that, we'll go ahead and close. Hey, it's getting closer. Strap on your helmet. All right. Get your armor ready. All right. So we hope that Electro edify you brothers and sisters with that. Shalom.